Hello YouTube, it's me again, back with another video, and this week we are going into a little bit more of a different style. So you may have noticed by the title of this video that it is only Inktober 22, and that is for a very, very good reason, because it turns out Inktober 22 took me much, much longer than literally any of the other drawings have so far. So that was honestly to be expected. This drawing was very, very detailed. So this drawing is of a Gothic mansion. A little fun fact about the first time that I drew this. The first time that I started to do my initial sketching, luckily not in pen, but the first initial sketch that I did while I was sitting at a table that was just slightly too tall. So when I pulled the sketch down to look at it, having drawn this entire mansion, luckily with no details, it was completely crooked, which, as you may understand, was completely devastating to me as a human being. It wrecked my soul just a little bit. Luckily, I don't have that problem on the computer because you can just generate straight lines. How handy is that? Luckily, a lot of this is just repeating patterns and very simple shapes, but I think that it looks really nice, honestly. I am very proud of this drawing. It is a Gothic mansion. The prompt for day 22 was trail, which is ironic, considering the trail is the least detailed part of this drawing. So I thought about doing like a trail in the forest, leading through the forest, and then I thought, drawing forests is hard. And I thought, just drawing a trail metaphorically, or drawing people walking on a trail, and I thought, well, then that's boring. So then I thought, what about a trail leading to a spooky old mansion? So that's what I did. I drew a trail leading to a spooky old mansion. And I looked up a couple different references for Gothic mansions and combined them. I combined aspects of each of them that I liked and cut out some of the aspects that I didn't, and I created this. So it is mostly based structurally on one particular reference image, but some of the decorations were based on just my creative take on things. So I hope that you like this one, because I think it's pretty cool. So for the final product of this drawing, I couldn't decide if I wanted to do it grayscale or if I wanted to do it with a little bit of color. So I actually saved both versions. I saved it completely grayscale before I added any color, and then I saved it in full color as well. So there are two options for this drawing. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. I'm honestly kind of leaning towards the black and gray version, which is annoying because the colored version took me much longer to create. It took basically double the time that the black and gray version took, because I had to isolate all of the various areas and color them again. But I think it looks pretty cool, so I'm not too mad. I really like that you can just straight copy things, because this gate is so much more symmetrical now, and that makes me happy like you wouldn't believe. Drawing some of the curved portions and the large curves is really difficult, I think, for me, in part because I want the curves to be so smooth and perfect and rounded, and that's very hard to achieve, whether you're drawing traditionally or digitally. Digitally, it's not quite as hard, but traditionally you do have a little bit of leeway for perfecting your curves, and I think that is nice because you can move your hand a certain way when you're drawing traditionally that you really can't digitally, at least not with the tools that I currently have in my repertoire. So I really wanted to make sure that the perspective on the grass was obvious, so I made the strokes closer to the mansion really tiny, so that it looked like the grass was smaller. Oh, the roof. The roof. So in order to make sure that all of the little lines lined up perfectly, completely perfectly, I filled up equidistant boxes along one row, and then I took it down to each of the other points and just stretched those boxes so that the points were still equidistant and there was the same number of points, and then I connected the dots, and I think it looks fabulous. So I thought that was ingenious. I'm proud of me. I hope you're proud of me. Yeah, there is a lot going on in this drawing. There are a lot of really teeny tiny details that go into this drawing. And honestly, if I had had the time, I would have put in even more. I wanted to add some old aged brick textures to this drawing that I got so tired of this drawing. And I kept messing up. Like here, you can see for some reason it duplicated and moved over, which was very unusual. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it did happen. So it was weird. Mostly for this, I just had to do a lot of isolating areas because there were so many different values and levels and layers to this drawing that I just had to be very precise about where I put everything, and there was just so many overlapping areas, and there were columns and stripes and layers and railings, and I had to make sure that each of those had their own distinct value while still keeping everything cohesive and not super contrasting, which was very difficult, as you may imagine. But honestly, one of the most satisfying parts of this entire drawing was just putting all of the pieces together. When I had everything shaded and filled in, it was so satisfying, guys. It was immensely satisfying. I am so proud of how it all came together, and I think that it looks pretty darn cohesive. Here in a minute, I think, I go in and I add a little cute ghost into one of the windows, and that's just like a little inside secret. It's not a secret. You can clearly see it in the drawing. I just thought it would be fun. It has no bearing on the piece overall. It doesn't change anything. I just wanted to add a cheeky ghost into one of the windows. So now there is a cheeky ghost in the window of my drawing, and she's very small in the final product. Oh, there she is. Here she is, my little tiny ghost. You can hardly see her in the full thing, but I think that it's just so fun. I had a lot of trouble with keeping the values together while I was working on a gray background. So I brought in a red background, and it was actually really helpful. I don't know why I've never thought of doing that when I was doing the grayscale shading. I had never really thought about adding a colored background so that all of the little levels of grays and gray tones would stand out, and so that I could erase any overlap. But I'm honestly really glad that I did. I think it was very helpful, and I kind of love the aesthetic that the red background gives this drawing. So this video has a nice red background, and I think it looks nice. What about you? So yeah, there's not too much more to say until I start working on the background. So I will let you guys get to the background. In the meantime, enjoy my moody ambient music.
YouTube, here I am to talk about my background, and I am really proud of how these clouds came out. I just went in, I tried to look up a few references, but they weren't as helpful as I wanted them to be. I tried to look up a few tutorials, and I ended up just going, you know what, I'll make some clouds. So I overlapped them, and I created them to look really deep and intense, and just look at it, guys. It looks so nice. I just really feel like those clouds bring it together. I do end up going in and actually changing which part of the sky. Like I
flip the sky horizontally so that highlight comes down on the other side of the building. And I'm not really sure why I did that, but I just thought it would look nicer. So, as for right now, what I'm doing is I'm just tweaking the values a little bit, and just messing with the color. And I wanted to go for a very desaturated tone, but it was kind of hard to pull off while just looking at the soft light version. So I went in with a normal layer and just colored all of the bits in all of the colors that I thought I would need. And I would go back and forth between the soft light and a normal layer to make sure I was using the right color that I wanted. And then I just went in and filled it all in a normal layer. So it looks very strange throughout a lot of the process. But trust me, it is going to come together. I actually ended up using a couple of different layers, I think, and then setting them all to normal, and then allowing them to merge together, and then setting them to soft light. And I think that was very helpful in letting me kind of figure out where I wanted everything to go. That way I didn't have to freak out too much about just the different, layers, the different aspects of the drawing merging together. Like you can see there, the ground and the archway are on a separate layer from the mansion, and that was very helpful for me. I wanted the back walls and some of the darker walls of this mansion to have a sort of brick-like quality to them. So I went with a kind of reddish orange color that when you put it in the soft light filter comes across like this dark orangish red that I thought was very perfect for the old brick style houses of the Gothic era. And I wanted to create some more stone detailing in the walls. I really did. And I think if I were to ever draw this again, that would be something I would definitely want to incorporate. But this this project had already taken me so unbearably long, I thought I was just gonna cry. The unedited version of this, I think, is somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 3 hours. And that is several days of work spread out over just having school to deal with and a personal life and doctor's appointments. And it was just a lot of work and research and trying to find the right color palettes. What you don't see in my videos is a lot of effort that goes in behind the scenes. So this took me, the drawing itself alone took less than 4 hours, I would say, a little under 4 hours, but the process was closer to 10 or 12. So it was a struggle. For the background, for the soft light layer, I should say, I didn't really want that black to become quite so flat, and I noticed that in the soft light filter it had become rather flat, and that wasn't what I wanted. So I went in and erased the roof portions so that they wouldn't look quite so dark when I overlaid with the soft light filter, and I think that helped a lot. I tried to add some glassy effects to the little window above the door, but I don't think that it worked all that well. I think the windows could have had a little bit more polish to them. I also went in and erased the little areas where the accent pieces were, and that was for a different reason. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with the gray or if I wanted to add a little bit of color and add in a pop of blue. So I made 2 different layers, and I had one where I saved it as the blue and one where I didn't. So there's the black and white, and soon you will have the color. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, time of day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.